The gleaming spires of Lumeria, capital city of the alien world Nexus, pierced the amber sky like crystalline daggers. Marcus Vallon, Earth's newly appointed diplomat to the Nexans, gazed out the viewport of his shuttle as it descended through wispy lavender clouds. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. After years of tense negotiations, this was humanity's first official diplomatic mission to the notoriously isolationist alien civilization. As the shuttle touched down on the landing pad with a gentle thud, Marcus straightened his formal attire and took a deep breath. This was the moment he had trained for his entire career. He strode purposefully down the ramp, flanked by his small security detail. A delegation of Nexan officials awaited him on the platform, their towering, willowy forms dwarfing the humans. Iridescent scales shimmered across their blue-tinged skin, and large, almond-shaped eyes regarded Marcus with an unreadable alien gaze. The lead Nexan stepped forward and inclined his head. "Greetings, Ambassador Valen. I am Theroch, Minister of Interspecies Affairs. On behalf of Her Majesty Queen Nylara, welcome to Lumeria." Marcus bowed deeply. "Thank you, Minister. I am honored to be here and look forward to fostering peaceful relations between our peoples." As they made their way to the awaiting hover transport, Marcus marveled at the alien architecture. Spiraling towers of an opalescent material stretched skyward, connected by graceful arched bridges. Nexan citizens glided by on personal anti-gravity discs, their robes flowing behind them. "Your city is breathtaking," Marcus remarked to Theroch. The alien's face remained impassive. "Lumeria has stood for over 10,000 of your Earth years. We hope you will find your stay here illuminating." There was something in the minister's tone that sent a chill down Marcus's spine, but he pushed the unsettling feeling aside. He had a job to do. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of meetings and tours. Marcus found himself constantly in awe of Nexan technology and culture, but an undercurrent of tension ran beneath the surface. Many of the Nexan officials regarded him with thinly veiled disdain or outright hostility. On the fifth day of his visit, Marcus was summoned to an audience with Queen Nylara herself. As he was escorted into the vast throne room, his breath caught in his throat. The Nexan queen was a vision of alien beauty. Her scales shimmered with an opalescent sheen, and a delicate crown of crystalline spires adorned her head. Marcus bowed low. "Your Majesty, thank you for granting me an audience. I bring greetings and well wishes from—" "Silence, human." Nylara's voice cracked like a whip. Marcus's head snapped up in shock. The queen's eyes blazed with furious. She rose from her throne. "Guards, seize him," she commanded. Before Marcus could react, two burly Nexan guards grabbed his arms. He struggled futilely against their iron grip. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. "I've done nothing wrong." Nylara glided down from her dais, her face a mask of cold rage. "Nothing wrong? You dare to say that after what you've done?" Marcus's mind raced. What could he possibly have done to provoke such anger? "Your Majesty, there must be some misunderstanding. Please explain what—" "Explain?" Nylara's laugh was bitter. "Very well, I shall explain. You have committed the gravest crime imaginable against me and my people. You have planted your vile human seed within me." Marcus gaped at her, certain he had misheard. What? That's impossible. We've never even—" But even as the words left his mouth, a hazy memory surfaced. The welcoming banquet on his first night. Too much alien wine. A chance encounter in a darkened corridor. Nylara's eyes narrowed. "I see you remember now." "Yes, Ambassador, in a moment of weakness, I allowed myself to be seduced by you. And now I find myself with child, a half-breed abomination." Marcus's mind reeled as the implications sank in. "Your Majesty, I had no idea. The wine that night, I barely remember. But surely this doesn't have to be a disaster. Our peoples could see this as a bridge between our worlds, a symbol of unity." "Fool," Nylara spat. "You understand nothing of our ways. A child of mixed blood is an abomination to my people. It threatens the very foundations of our society. By our most ancient laws, I am unfit to rule. I will be forced to abdicate." Marcus's diplomatic training kicked in, desperately searching for a way to defuse the situation. There must be another solution. Surely the laws can be changed, or an exception made. Silence! Nylara's voice echoed through the chamber. I will hear no more of your human platitudes. Guards, take him to the dungeons. His execution will be at dawn. As the guards dragged him away, Marcus's mind raced. How had a diplomatic mission gone so catastrophically wrong? And how could he possibly find a way out of this mess? The dungeon was as advanced as the rest of Nexen technology, but no less unpleasant for it. Marcus paced his cell, a shimmering force field the only barrier between him and freedom. His mind whirled with the implications of what had happened. Not only was his own life in danger, but this could spark an interstellar incident between Earth and Nexus. Hours passed, and Marcus's hopes of a quick resolution faded. Just as despair began to set in, a figure appeared outside his cell. It was a young Nexen female, her scales of a pale lavender hue. Ambassador Valen, she whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. I am Mira, handmaiden to the Queen. I've come to help you. Marcus approached the force field cautiously. Why would you risk helping me? Mira's large eyes brimmed with worry. Because what is happening is wrong. The Queen's reaction is driven by fear, not justice. And there are those in the court who would use this situation to their advantage. She deactivated the force field. Quickly, we don't have much time. There are others who feel as I do, both Nexen and human. We're gathering in secret. Come with me. Marcus hesitated only a moment before stepping through. As they hurried through shadowy corridors, Mira explained in hushed tones, the Queen's pregnancy has caused a political firestorm. Some of the more conservative nobles see it as an opportunity to force her from the throne. They've never approved of her more progressive policies. They arrived at a hidden door concealed behind an ornate tapestry. Mira placed her hand on a sensor, and it slid open silently. Inside, a group of about a dozen beings, both Nexen and human, huddled around a holographic display. They looked up as Marcus and Mira entered. A familiar face stepped forward. Dr. Elena Reyes, the lead xenobiologist on the Earth delegation. Marcus, thank God you're all right. We've been trying to figure out how to get to you. Marcus embraced her briefly, relieved to see a friendly face. Elena, what's going on? How did this happen? One of the Nexens, an older male with deep blue scales, spoke up. I am Kaner, Chief Medical Officer to the royal family. The situation is unprecedented. In all our recorded history, there has never been a successful breeding between Nexens and another species, which is why some are claiming it's impossible. They're accusing you of some kind of trick or deception, Elena added. Marcus shook his head in disbelief. This is insane. There has to be a way to resolve this peacefully. Kaner's expression was grave. I'm afraid it may not be that simple. The Queen's pregnancy has become a rallying point for multiple factions. Some wish to use it to depose her, others to cut off all contact with Earth. And there are whispers of even darker motives. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Elena's face was grim. We've intercepted communications suggesting that elements within both the Nexen military and Earth's government see this as an opportunity to provoke open conflict. They believe war is inevitable and want to strike first. Marcus felt the weight of the galaxy settling on his shoulders. So what can we do? There must be a way to prevent this from spiraling into war. Mira stepped forward, her voice quiet but determined. We believe the key lies with the Queen herself. If we can convince her to see this child as an opportunity rather than a curse, she might be able to sway public opinion. Easier said than done, Marcus sighed. She seemed pretty set on having me executed last time we spoke. That's why we need to gather more information, Elena said. Kaner, you've been monitoring the Queen's condition. Have you found anything unusual about this pregnancy? The Nexen doctor's expression turned thoughtful. There are anomalies in the fetal development. Nothing dangerous, but the child appears to be developing traits from both species in ways we've never seen before. It's quite fascinating from a scientific perspective. Marcus's mind raced. Could this be used to our advantage? If the child is truly unique, maybe it could be seen as a blessing rather than a curse. Kaner nodded slowly. It's possible. There's an old legend among our people of a star child who would bring great change to Nexus. It's mostly considered a myth these days, but if we could link this pregnancy to that prophecy, it might give us the leverage we need. Mira finished, her eyes shining with hope. A human man in a military uniform spoke up. That's all well and good, but we're running out of time. Earth's fleet is already mobilizing, and I've heard rumors that some of the more hawkish Nexan generals are pushing for a preemptive strike. Marcus straightened his shoulders, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. All right, we need to move fast. Elena, you and Kaner focus on gathering all the scientific data you can about this pregnancy. Look for anything that could be seen as miraculous or prophetic. He turned to Mira. Can you get us access to the Queen? We need to make her see reason before it's too late. The young handmaiden nodded nervously. I think so, but we'll have to be careful. The palace is on high alert, and there are spies everywhere. Good. The rest of you, do what you can to slow down any military preparations on both sides. We need to buy ourselves some time. As the group dispersed to their tasks, Marcus felt a mix of hope and dread. The fate of two worlds rested on his shoulders, and the clock was ticking. Over the next few days, Marcus and his unlikely allies worked tirelessly. Elena and Kaner pored over medical data, searching for any anomaly that could be spun into a miracle. Mira used her position in the palace to gather intelligence and laid the groundwork for a meeting with the Queen. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of close calls and sleepless nights, they had their chance. Mira managed to arrange a secret audience with Queen Nilara, away from the prying eyes of her more aggressive advisors. As Marcus was led into the Queen's private chambers, he steeled himself for what might be the most important conversation of his life. Nilara sat on a low couch, her hand resting protectively over her slightly swollen abdomen. Her eyes narrowed as she saw him. You have some nerve showing your face here, human, she hissed. I should call the guards this instant. Marcus held up his hands in a pleading gesture. Please, Your Majesty, I beg you to hear me out. What I have to say could change everything. Nilara's expression remained cold, but she didn't call for the guards. Marcus took that as permission to continue. Your Majesty, I know you see this child as a threat to your rule and your people's way of life. But what if it's exactly the opposite? What if this child is the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy? He proceeded to lay out the evidence they had gathered, the unique genetic markers, the unprecedented melding of Nexan and human traits, the eerie similarities to the legend of the Star Child. As he spoke, he saw a flicker of something in Nilara's eyes. Uncertainty, perhaps even a glimmer of hope. This child you carry, Marcus said softly, taking a cautious step closer, could be the key to bringing our peoples together. A living symbol of unity and peace. A symbol of unity? Nilara's voice trembled with a mixture of anger and uncertainty. Or a symbol of my weakness, my failure to uphold our most sacred traditions? Marcus took a deep breath, choosing his next words carefully. Your Majesty, traditions are important. They give us a sense of identity, of continuity, but sometimes when the universe presents us with something truly unprecedented, it's a sign that it's time for those traditions to evolve. He gestured to her swollen abdomen. This child, our child, is something that has never existed before. It's not just a mixing of our species, but a new life form entirely. The medical data shows abilities and potential we've never seen before. Nilara's eyes widened slightly, her curiosity piqued despite her reservations. What kind of abilities? It's still early, but Dr. Kaner's scans show signs of enhanced neural activity far beyond what's normal for either Nexan or human fetuses. There are indications of potential telepathic capabilities, accelerated healing. Your Majesty, this child could be the key to advancements that benefit both our peoples. The Queen was silent for a long moment, her internal struggle visible on her face. When she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. Even if what you say is true, my people would never accept it. The conservatives are already calling for my abdication. If they knew I was considering embracing this abomination. Marcus felt a flare of anger at her words, but pushed it down. He needed to remain calm, diplomatic. Your Majesty, with all due respect, you underestimate your people. Yes, there will be those who resist change, but there are also many who look to you for leadership, who trust your judgment. He took another cautious step forward. Think of the legacy you could leave, not just as a ruler who maintained the status quo, but as the queen who ushered in a new era of interstellar cooperation in scientific advancement. Nylara's eyes met his, and for the first time, Marcus saw a glimmer of something other than anger or fear. It was hope, fragile but unmistakable. "And what of you, Ambassador?" she asked softly. "What is your stake in all this, beyond avoiding execution?" Marcus's heart raced. This was the moment of truth. "Your Majesty, I won't pretend that my feelings aren't complicated. This situation is far from what I expected when I came to Nexus. But that child you're carrying is as much a part of me as it is of you. I want to be there for it, to help guide it and see it grow." He took a deep breath. "More than that, I want to see our peoples come together, not in war, but in peace and mutual understanding. This child could be the first step towards that future." Nylara stood, her regal bearing reasserting itself. "Your words are compelling, Ambassador, but words alone are not enough. If we are to pursue this course, I will need proof, concrete evidence that this child is indeed as miraculous as you claim." Marcus nodded, relief flooding through him. It wasn't a full victory, but it was a start. "Of course, Your Majesty. Dr. Kaner and Dr. Reyes have been working tirelessly to compile all the data. They can present their findings to you and your advisors at your convenience." The Queen's expression hardened. "Very well, I will hear their evidence. But know this, human. If this turns out to be some sort of deception or manipulation, the consequences will be severe, not just for you, but for your entire species." "I understand, Your Majesty. Thank you for hearing me out." As Marcus left the Queen's chambers, his mind was already racing with next steps. They had a foot in the door, but there was still so much that could go wrong. He needed to coordinate with Elena and Kaner, make sure their presentation was airtight, and somehow they needed to start swaying public opinion among both the Nexans and humans. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Marcus and his allies worked tirelessly, presenting evidence to the Queen and her advisors, quietly spreading word of the miracle child among the Nexan populace, and working diplomatic channels to keep Earth's military response in check. It was a delicate balancing act. For every step forward, there seemed to be 2 steps back. Conservative factions among the Nexans pushed back hard, accusing Nylara of betraying her people. Hawkish elements on Earth saw the pregnancy as a potential bioweapon, demanding immediate action. More than once, Marcus found himself on the brink of despair, wondering if they were fighting a losing battle. But slowly, incrementally, progress was made. As news of the child's unique abilities spread, curiosity began to overcome fear among many of the Nexans. Scientists from both worlds clamored for the chance to study this unprecedented phenomenon. And as Nylara's pregnancy progressed, even some of her harshest critics had to admit that she seemed to be thriving. Her natural grace and beauty enhanced by the glow of impending motherhood. As her due date approached, tensions reached a fever pitch. Marcus barely slept, constantly mediating between factions, putting out diplomatic fires, and trying to keep the fragile peace from shattering. Through it all, he found himself growing closer to Nylara. Their initial animosity had given way to a tentative understanding and then to something deeper. They spent long hours discussing their hopes and fears for the future, for their child and for their peoples. Then, on a stormy night that seemed to mirror the tumultuous political climate, Nylara went into labor. Marcus paced nervously outside the royal birthing chamber, his heart pounding. He could hear Nylara's cries of pain from within, punctuated by the low, soothing tones of the Nexan midwives. Every instinct screamed at him to be by her side, but Nexan tradition forbade it. Mira appeared at his side, her usual composure shaken. "Ambassador, we have a problem. There's unrest in the city. Some of the conservative factions are rallying, calling for the Queen to be deposed before the child is born. And we've received word that a fleet of Earth ships has entered the system despite our diplomatic assurances." Marcus felt a cold knot of fear in his stomach. "We're out of time," he muttered. "We need to—" His words were cut off by a new sound from the birthing chamber, the high, piercing wail of a newborn child. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. Moments later, the door swung open. Kaner emerged, his scales pale with exhaustion, but his eyes shining. "Ambassador," he said softly, "would you like to meet your daughter?" Marcus's legs felt weak as he entered the chamber. Nylara reclined on a bed of shimmering organic material, looking exhausted but radiant. In her arms was a tiny bundle. As he approached, Nylara looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of emotions, wonder, fear, and something that might have been love. "Marcus," she whispered, "look at her. She's perfect." Marcus peered down at the child and felt his heart stop. She was indeed perfect, a seamless blend of Nexan and human features. Her skin had a faint blue tinge with the barest shimmer of scales. A tuft of dark hair crowned her head, and when she opened her eyes, they were a striking violet. But it was more than her appearance that took Marcus's breath away. As he gazed at his daughter, he felt something, a presence, a consciousness far beyond what should be possible in a newborn. The child's eyes locked onto his, and he had the overwhelming sense that she understood everything, the precarious political situation, the hopes and fears surrounding her birth, the potential future she represented. "She's incredible," Marcus breathed. A commotion from outside broke the moment. Mira burst into the room, her eyes wide with panic. "Your Majesty, Ambassador, the situation is escalating. There are riots in the streets, and the Earth Fleet is demanding to speak with you both immediately. They're threatening military action if their demands aren't met." Nylara and Marcus exchanged a look of understanding. Without a word, the Queen rose from her bed, cradling the newborn in her arms. "Your Majesty, you need rest," Kaner protested. Nylara's voice was steel. "What I need, Doctor, is to save my kingdom and prevent an interstellar war." She turned to Marcus. "Are you with me?" He nodded, his resolve matching hers, always. Together they strode from the birthing chamber, their daughter held between them. As they emerged onto the palace balcony overlooking the capital city, a hush fell over the roiling crowd below. The night sky was alight with the ominous glow of Earth ships hovering in low orbit, their weapons primed and ready. Nylara's voice rang out, amplified our Nexan technology to reach every corner of the city and beyond, transmitted to the Earth ships above. "People of Nexus, honored representatives of Earth, hear me." Her voice trembled slightly, but grew stronger with each word. "I stand before you not just as your queen, but as a mother to a child who embodies the future of both our worlds." She held the infant aloft and gasps rippled through the crowd. Even from a distance, the child's unique nature was apparent. This child, my daughter, our daughter, is not an abomination or a threat. She is a miracle, a bridge between our species that we never thought possible. In her, I see the potential for a future of cooperation, understanding, and shared progress. Marcus stepped forward, his voice joining Nylara's. "People of Earth, I implore you to stand down. What we have here is not a weapon or a danger, but an opportunity. An opportunity to move beyond our fears and prejudices, to reach for something greater than ourselves." As if on cue, the child began to glow softly, a pale violet aura emanating from her skin. The crowd below fell silent in awe. Kaner's voice came urgently through their earpieces. "It's as we theorized. She's exhibiting advanced telepathic abilities. The energy readings are off the charts." The infant's eyes opened, glowing with the same violet light. Suddenly, Marcus felt a wave of emotion wash over him, not his own, but a collective sensation from the crowd below and even from the ships above. It was a mixture of wonder, hope, and a profound sense of connection. Nylara gasped beside him, clearly feeling the same thing. She's linking us all, helping us understand each other." For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, humans and Nexans alike were united in a shared consciousness, experiencing each other's hopes, fears, and dreams. When the glow faded and the sensation passed, the mood had palpably shifted. The tension in the air had dissipated, replaced by a sense of cautious optimism. A voice crackled over the comms, the Admiral of the Earth Fleet. "This is unprecedented. We're standing down our weapons. Queen Nylara, Ambassador Valen, we request an immediate conference to discuss the implications of this event." Nylara's voice was filled with relief and determination. "We would be honored, Admiral. Let this be the first step towards a new era of peace and cooperation between our peoples." As the crowd below erupted into cheers and the Earth ships began to descend for peaceful negotiations, Marcus turned to Nylara. Their eyes met over their daughter's head, and 1,000 unspoken words passed between them. "What do we name her?" Marcus asked softly. Nylara smiled, a genuine, warm expression that transformed her face. In the old Nexan language, there is a word, Lyrel. It means bringer of dawn. Marcus nodded, feeling the rightness of it. Lyrel, our little dawn bringer. As they stood there, a family united against the backdrop of a new tomorrow, Marcus felt a profound sense of hope. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and those who resisted change on both sides. But looking at his daughter, at Lyrel, he knew that anything was possible. The sun began to rise over Lumeria, its light catching on the crystalline spires of the city. It was a new day, the dawn of a new era. And as Marcus Valen stood with his alien queen and their miracle child, he knew that together they would face whatever the future held. In the years that followed, Lyrel would indeed prove to be the dawn of a new age. Her unique abilities helped foster understanding between humans and Nexans, paving the way for unprecedented cooperation. The genetic illness that had long plagued the Nexans began to be unraveled thanks to the hybrid vigor in Lyrel's DNA. Nylara and Marcus's union, once scandalous, became a symbol of interspecies harmony. They ruled together, bridging the gap between their peoples with wisdom and compassion. And Lyrel grew into her role as a bridge between worlds, her unique heritage and abilities allowing her to navigate the complexities of both human and Nexan societies with grace and insight. As she matured, her telepathic abilities expanded, allowing her to facilitate communication and understanding on a scale never before seen. The path was not always smooth. There were still those on both sides who resisted change, who saw the mixing of species as a threat to their way of life. Terrorist attacks, attempted coups, and diplomatic crises tested the resolve of the fledgling alliance between Earth and Nexus. But through it all, the image of that night on the balcony remained a powerful symbol, a human and Nexan standing together with their child, facing the future as one. 10 years after Lyrel's birth, Marcus stood on that same balcony, watching the bustling city below. Lumeria had transformed in the past decade. Human architecture now stood alongside Nexan spires, and the streets were filled with beings from both worlds, working and living together in harmony. He felt a presence behind him and turned to see Nylara approaching, their daughter at her side. At 10 years old, Lyrel was already as tall as Marcus, her violet eyes wise beyond her years. "Contemplating your handiwork, my love?" Nylara asked, a teasing lilt in her voice, as she joined him at the railing. Marcus chuckled. "Hardly. This is the work of all of us, human, Nexan, and everything in between." He ruffled Lyrel's hair affectionately. "Especially this little miracle." Lyrel rolled her eyes in a very human gesture. "Dad, I'm not little anymore." "You'll always be little to me, kiddo," Marcus replied with a grin. Nylara's expression grew more serious. "The council is convening soon. They'll be expecting our decision." Marcus nodded, his own mood sobering. The Galactic Council, a governing body representing various spacefaring races, had extended an invitation for Earth and Nexus to join as full members. It was an unprecedented opportunity, but one that came with significant responsibilities and potential risks. "What do you think, Lyrel?" Marcus asked. "You've had a chance to meet with representatives from the council races. What's your read on the situation?" Lyrel closed her eyes, her brow furrowing in concentration. When she spoke, her voice held an otherworldly quality that still sent shivers down Marcus's spine. "There is fear," she said softly. "Fear of change, of the unknown, but also hope. They see what we've accomplished here. The union of two worlds once thought incompatible. They hope we can bring that same spirit of cooperation to the wider galaxy." She opened her eyes, looking at each of her parents in turn. "There are challenges ahead, old conflicts, deep-seated prejudices, but also opportunities, chances to learn, to grow, to become more than we are." Marcus felt a swell of pride. Sometimes it was easy to forget just how extraordinary his daughter was. Nylara nodded thoughtfully. "And what of our people? Are they ready for this step?" Lyrel smiled. "They're nervous, excited, apprehensive, but mostly they're ready. They want to see what's out there, to be part of something bigger." Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision before them. "Then I think we have our answer." Nilara reached out, taking his hand in hers. Even after all these years, the touch of her scales against his skin sent a thrill through him. Together, she asked. He nodded. Together. As they made their way to the council chambers, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. From a diplomatic mission gone awry to the brink of war, and now to the threshold of a new chapter in galactic history. He thought of the scared, angry queen he'd first encountered and marveled at the strong, compassionate leader and partner she'd become. He thought of his own growth, from a career diplomat to a father and co-ruler of an alien world. And he thought of Lyrel, the impossible child who had changed everything. As she walked between them, her head held high, Marcus saw in her the best of both worlds, human adaptability and creativity combined with Nexan wisdom and grace. Whatever challenges the future held, whatever new frontiers they would face as part of the Galactic Council, Marcus knew they would face them as a family and as a united people. The council chambers were a marvel of interstellar architecture, a vast amphitheater hewn from gleaming materials that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Representatives from a dozen spacefaring races filled the tiered seats, their varied forms a testament to the diversity of life in the galaxy. As Marcus, Nilara, and Lyrel took their places at the center of the chamber, a hush fell over the assembled delegates. The head of the council, a being of shimmering energy contained within a translucent exoskeleton, floated forward. Queen Nilara of Nexus, Ambassador Marcus Vallon of Earth, and Lyrel the Bridge, the council head's voice resonated in their minds rather than their ears. We welcome you. Have you reached a decision regarding your people's inclusion in the Galactic Council? Marcus and Nilara exchanged a glance, then nodded to Lyrel. They had agreed that their daughter, as the living embodiment of unity between their species, should be the one to address the council. Lyrel stepped forward, her young voice clear and strong. Honored members of the council, on behalf of the united peoples of Earth and Nexus, we humbly accept your invitation. A murmur rippled through the chamber, a mixture of approval and apprehension. We come before you not as two separate species, but as one people, Lyrel continued. Our journey has taught us that our differences can be our greatest strength when we choose to embrace them rather than fear them. She paused, her violet eyes scanning the room. We know that the path ahead will not be easy. There are conflicts to resolve, prejudices to overcome, and countless challenges we cannot yet foresee. But we also know that together, we are capable of miracles. As she spoke, Marcus felt a familiar sensation, the gentle touch of Lyrel's telepathic abilities. But this time, it wasn't just him and Nilara who felt it. He could see from the reactions around the chamber that Lyrel was connecting with every being present, allowing them to feel the sincerity of her words, the hope and determination behind them. We offer to the council not just our technology or our resources, Lyrel said, her voice growing stronger. We offer our experience in bridging seemingly insurmountable divides. We offer a vision of a future where diversity is celebrated, where understanding triumphs over fear. The energy in the room was palpable. Marcus could see many of the delegates leaning forward, clearly moved by Lyrel's words and the emotions she was projecting. In joining the Galactic Council, she concluded, we pledge to work tirelessly towards a more united galaxy. We may be young in the cosmic scale, but we bring with us the enthusiasm of youth tempered by the wisdom we've gained through our own struggles. We are ready to learn, to contribute, and to grow alongside all of you. As Lyrel finished speaking, the chamber erupted into a cacophony of sounds, the equivalent of applause from a dozen different species. The council head's form pulsed with a bright light that Marcus interpreted as approval. Well spoken, young Lyrel, the council head's thoughts echoed. Your words give us great hope for the future. By unanimous decision, we hereby welcome Earth and Nexus as full members of the Galactic Council. The ceremony that followed was a blur of alien protocols and rituals. As Marcus and Nilara signed the formal documents of admission, he caught Lyrel's eye. She was beaming with pride and excitement, but he could also see the weight of responsibility settling on her young shoulders. Later, as they prepared to return to Lumeria, Marcus found a moment alone with his daughter. You were amazing in there, kiddo, he said softly. Your mother and I are so proud of you. Lyrell's smile was tinged with a hint of uncertainty. Thanks, Dad. I just hope I can live up to everything I promised in there. Marcus pulled her into a hug. You don't have to do it alone, Lyrell. That's the whole point. We're in this together. All of us. As they boarded their ship for the journey home, Marcus felt a profound sense of anticipation. They were stepping into a vast unknown future, filled with both peril and promise. But as he looked at Nylara and Lyrell, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a family and as part of something far greater than themselves. The years that followed were a whirlwind of activity as Earth and Nexus integrated into the galactic community. Marcus found himself traveling to worlds he had never dreamed existed, negotiating treaties with beings of every conceivable form. Nylara's natural grace and diplomatic skills made her a respected figure in interstellar politics, often mediating disputes between long-standing rival species. Lyrell, now a young adult, had become a symbol of hope throughout the galaxy. Her unique abilities allowed her to bridge cultural and linguistic gaps with ease, and she often served as an ambassador of goodwill to newly discovered civilizations. But their influence extended far beyond politics. The successful union of human and Nexan DNA in Lyrell had opened up new frontiers in medical science. Researchers from dozens of worlds collaborated on projects that promised to cure diseases once thought incurable and extend lifespans across multiple species. It wasn't all smooth sailing, of course. Old prejudices died hard, and there were still those who saw the mixing of species as a threat. Extremist groups occasionally launched attacks or attempted to sabotage the growing interstellar cooperation. But each crisis seemed to bring the member worlds closer together, united in their determination to build a better future. 20 years after joining the Galactic Council, Marcus stood on the observation deck of a massive space station orbiting a neutron star. The view was breathtaking. Streams of stellar material arcing between the star and its binary companion, painting the void with rivers of light. He felt a presence beside him and turned to see Nylara. Even after all these years, the sight of her still made his heart skip a beat. The years had been kind to her, the wisdom of experience only enhancing her natural beauty. Quite a view, isn't it? He said, taking her hand in his. Nylara nodded, her eyes reflecting the starlight. It never ceases to amaze me, the wonders this galaxy holds. To think, if things had gone differently all those years ago, we might never have seen any of this. Marcus chuckled. You mean if you had gone through with having me executed? Nylara playfully swatted his arm. You're never going to let me forget that, are you? Not a chance, he grinned. His expression softened as he gazed at her. I thank whatever cosmic luck brought us together every day. Their moment was interrupted by a comm alert. Lyrell's face appeared on a holographic display. Mom, Dad, you need to get to the conference room. We've just received a transmission from the edge of the galaxy. You need to see this for yourselves. Exchanging a concerned glance, Marcus and Nylara hurried to the station's main conference room. They found it already filled with representatives from various council races, all murmuring anxiously amongst themselves. Lyrell stood at the head of the room, her face grave. As Marcus and Nylara entered, she nodded to a technician who activated a large view screen. The image that appeared sent a collective gasp through the room. It showed a massive object, clearly artificial, emerging from the depths of intergalactic space. It was like nothing anyone had ever seen, a structure the size of a small moon, composed of geometries that seemed to defy the laws of physics. We detected this object approaching the outer rim of the galaxy approximately 6 hours ago, Lyrell explained. It's not responding to any of our attempts at communication, and its trajectory will bring it into the heart of Council space within a month. The room erupted into a cacophony of concerned voices. Marcus heard snippets of conversation, fears of invasion, hopes of first contact with a hyper-advanced civilization, debates over military preparedness. Nylara's voice cut through the chaos. Quiet, please. This is precisely the kind of situation the Council was formed to address. We must approach this calmly and rationally. As the room settled, all eyes turned to Marcus, Nylara, and Lyrell. Over the years, the trio had become something of a guiding force within the Council, their unique perspective often providing clarity in times of crisis. Marcus took a deep breath, his mind racing with the implications of this discovery. All right, let's break this down. What do we know for certain? Lyrell stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. The object is artificial. That much is clear. Its size and complexity suggest a level of technology far beyond our own. It's maintaining a constant speed and trajectory, which implies purpose rather than random drift. A Canthian delegate, a being of crystalline structure, chimed in, but it has not responded to any form of communication. Could it be some sort of automated probe or a weapon? Perhaps we should mobilize our fleets immediately, growled a Turidian war chief, his scales bristling. Nylara held up a hand, her voice calm but authoritative. Let's not jump to conclusions. Yes, we must be prepared for any eventuality, but a show of force could be seen as an act of aggression if this is indeed a first contact situation. Marcus nodded in agreement. Nylara is right. Our first priority should be to establish communication. He turned to his daughter. Lyrell, do you think you could use your abilities to reach out telepathically? Lyrell looked uncertain for the first time. I'm not sure, Dad. My range has never been tested at this distance, and we have no idea if this entity even has a consciousness I could connect with. It's worth a try, Marcus encouraged. In the meantime, we need to form a plan. I propose we assemble a welcome fleet, a mix of scientific vessels and diplomatic ships, with a military escort held at a respectful distance. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity as the council races prepared for the arrival of the mysterious object. Lyrell spent hours each day in deep meditation, straining her telepathic abilities to their limit in an attempt to make contact. Marcus and Nylara worked tirelessly, coordinating the efforts of a dozen worlds and trying to maintain a sense of calm in the face of growing public anxiety. As the object entered the outskirts of council space, a massive fleet assembled to meet it. Marcus, Nylara, and Lyrell stood on the bridge of the lead ship, a state-of-the-art vessel that represented the pinnacle of combined human and Nexan technology. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the object grew larger in their view screen. Up close, its complexity was even more apparent, a fractal structure that seemed to fold in on itself in impossible ways. Suddenly, Lyrell gasped, her eyes going wide. I can feel something, she whispered. It's faint, but it's there, a consciousness, vast and alien. Marcus and Nylara exchanged a look of mingled hope and apprehension. This was the moment they had been working towards for decades, true first contact with an entirely new form of intelligence. Can you communicate with it? Nylara asked softly. Lyrell's brow furrowed in concentration. I'm trying, but it's like nothing I've ever encountered before. The thoughts are so alien, so... She trailed off, her eyes suddenly glowing with an intense violet light. The entire bridge crew fell silent, watching in awe as Lyrell seemed to enter a trance-like state. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the massive object before them began to change, its impossible geometries shifting and flowing, rearranging themselves into a form that was somehow more comprehensible to human and Nexan eyes. A voice echoed through the bridge, not heard with ears, but felt in the mind of every being present. It was a chorus of 1,000,000 voices speaking as one. We greet you, children of the stars. Long have we wandered the void between galaxies, seeking others like ourselves. In you, we see great potential, the first steps towards a unity we have long sought. Marcus felt Nylara's hand grasp as tightly as the voice continued. You stand at a crossroads, young ones. The path ahead is fraught with danger, but also with infinite possibility. We offer you a choice: to join us in our journey of discovery, to ascend to a higher plane of existence. But know that this choice comes with great responsibility. As the voice faded, Lyrell collapsed, caught quickly by her parents. Her eyes fluttered open, filled with wonder and exhaustion. Dad, Mom, she whispered, They're incredible. They've seen so much, learned so much, but they're also lonely. They've been searching for so long. Marcus and Nylara helped Lyrell to her feet, supporting her between them. The bridge was silent, everyone processing the monumental event they had just witnessed. Finally, Marcus cleared his arm and wrote, I think we're going to need a bigger conference room. The joke broke the tension, eliciting nervous laughter from the crew. Nylara squeezed his hand, a small smile playing on her lips despite the gravity of the situation. Over the next few days, a flurry of communication took place between the council races and the entity, which called itself the Collective. Lyrel acted as the primary conduit, her unique abilities allowing her to bridge the vast gulf of understanding between the two civilizations. What emerged was a picture both thrilling and terrifying. The Collective was indeed a hyper-advanced civilization, having transcended physical form millennia ago. They existed as a vast network of pure consciousness, able to manipulate matter and energy in ways that seemed like magic to the council races. But they were not conquerors or colonizers. Instead, they were explorers and seekers of knowledge, traveling from galaxy to galaxy in search of other sentient life. Their offer of ascension was genuine, a chance for the council races to join them in their journey of cosmic discovery. However, the choice came with profound implications. Joining the Collective would mean leaving behind physical form, merging individual consciousness into a greater whole. It would grant access to knowledge and power beyond imagination, but at the cost of individuality as they knew it. The debate raged across council space. Some saw it as the next step in evolution, a chance to transcend the limitations of physical existence. Others viewed it with fear and suspicion, unwilling to give up their individual identities or skeptical of the Collective's true intentions. Through it all, Marcus, Nylara, and Lyrel found themselves at the center of the storm. Their unique family unit, a bridge between species that had once seemed incompatible, was now seen as a model for the kind of unity the Collective offered on a cosmic scale. As the deadline for their decision approached, Marcus stood with his family in their private quarters aboard the station, the weight of responsibility palpable in the room. "What do you think we should do?" he asked, looking at Nylara and Lyrel in turn. Nylara's expression was thoughtful. "It's an incredible opportunity. The knowledge we could gain, the advancements we could make, but the cost is so high to lose our individual selves, our unique perspectives." Lyrel, who had been unusually quiet since her communication with the Collective, finally spoke up. "I've seen glimpses of what they are, what they know. It's overwhelming, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. But I also see the beauty in what we are now, in our struggles, our differences, our individual journeys." Marcus nodded, feeling a swell of pride in his daughter's wisdom. "You're right, both of you. This isn't a decision we can make lightly or quickly, and it's not one we can make for everyone." A plan began to form in his mind. What if we proposed a compromise? We're not ready to ascend as a civilization, not yet, but maybe we could establish a cultural exchange, a small group of volunteers to join the Collective, to learn and grow with them, and in return they share some of their knowledge with us. Help us advance at our own pace. Nylara's eyes lit up. "A bridge between our current state and what we could become, just like us," Lyrel finished, a smile spreading across her face. The next day, Marcus presented their proposal to the council and the Collective. To his relief and excitement, both sides received the idea positively. The Collective expressed understanding of the council race's hesitation and agreed that a gradual approach might be best. A call for volunteers went out across council space. The response was overwhelming. Scientists, philosophers, explorers, all willing to take the leap into the unknown for the sake of knowledge and progress. As the day of departure approached for the first group of volunteers, Marcus, Nylara, and Lyrel stood together watching the preparations. The Collective had created a smaller version of their vessel, one that could house the physical forms of the volunteers until they were ready for full ascension. "It's really happening," Lyrel said softly, a mix of awe and melancholy in her voice. "Everything's going to change now, isn't it?" Marcus put an arm around his daughter's shoulders. "Change is the only constant in the universe, kiddo, but that's what makes life exciting." Nylara took Lyrel's hand in hers, and no matter what changes come, we'll face them together, as a family and as part of something greater. As they watched the volunteers board the Collective's ship, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point, from a diplomatic mission gone awry to the brink of war, from the miracle of Lyrel's birth to joining the Galactic Council, and now to the threshold of a new era for all sentient life in the galaxy. The ship began to glow with an otherworldly light as it prepared for departure. In that moment, Marcus felt a profound sense of hope and possibility. Whatever the future held, he knew that the spirit of unity and understanding that he, Nilara, and Laurel had fostered would live on, rippling out across the cosmos. As the ship disappeared into the depths of space, taking with it the first ambassadors to a new frontier of existence, Marcus turned to his family. "Well, Mom," he said with a smile, "I guess we better get to work. We've got a lot to prepare for when they come back." Nylara nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Indeed, the galaxy will never be the same after this, but I believe we're ready for whatever comes next." Laurel straightened her shoulders, looking every inch the leader she had become. "We've bridged the gap between humans and Nexans. Now we're bridging the gap between physical existence and whatever lies beyond. If we can do that, we can do anything." As they turned to leave the observation deck, Marcus felt a surge of pride and love for his extraordinary family. They had faced seemingly insurmountable odds time and time again, and each time they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more united. The future stretched out before them, vast and unknown, but as long as they had each other and the spirit of cooperation and understanding they had fostered, Marcus knew they could face any challenge the universe might throw their way. As they walked together towards the next chapter of their lives, Marcus couldn't help but smile. The diplomatic mission that had gone so terribly wrong all those years ago had led to this moment, a future filled with infinite possibilities, not just for them but for all sentient life in the galaxy.